Welcome back everyone to our video series where we take a look at the best GDWC submitted games per country. All the games that we're going to be seeing have been submitted in the last few years with GDWC, and of course this is my list, so if you don't like it or if you disagree, come yell at me on Twitter. Also, feel free to subscribe and comment down below where you're watching from, and I'm going to pick from the comments one of the countries for our next video. I figured we should continue the series with a country who, they've developed, maybe a handful, a couple notable games. This time we're going to Japan. Of course, gaming as we know it today would be nothing if not for Japan's extremely rich history with video games. Of course, everyone knows the huge franchises that come from Japan. However, indie games have struggled to make it outside of Japan. With the high costs of localizations and translations and just how difficult and time-consuming it is, a lot of the games that are extremely popular there haven't made it across to the West. But of course, many have as well, and here are some of the most notable titles. Downwill, Had a Full Boyfriend, my personal favorite, just about anything from Q Games, and of course the granddaddy of indie games, arguably the first major successful indie game, and all the way back from 2004, Cave Story. So enough about those, let's jump into the list. Alright, I know I said it's a top 10 list, but I need to give a quick shout out to Penguin's Dogma. Picture Slender, the 8 pages, but instead of Slenderman chasing you, it's an adorable penguin. It's an equal mix of tension and just absolute hilarity. It's something that needs to be checked out. Okay, on to the actual list. In 10th place, Durant from Kurosawa Create looks like an ambitious, story-driven, cinematic action game. Not much is known about Durant right now. Development started in 2019. We have one trailer for the game and this logline. In a world where the afterlife has been proven, John, the main character, has lost his wife and is burdened with grief and sin. Employed by Havens, an organization using desperate people, John will have to fight the enemy while facing his death thoughts. Durant honestly looks like it could have made the top of my list, but without having actually played it, we can only hope it's as good as it looks. Okay, now clear your mind, alright? Now think of the polar opposite game that you just saw. Well, that's our number 9 spot, Collect Bits from LocalBit. You play as Charo and his robot Lucis, traveling through different towns to help them clean up all of the littering fragments laid about. The game is controlled with just 3 commands. You've got run, jump, and throw. And alright, look, Lucis might be a cute dog, but throwing him just feels so good. Plus, the enemies drop more of those fragments that you're looking for, so really, at the end of the day, you're just doing your job. Collect Bits is perfect for score chasers. Every level is timed and reflected in your score at the end of the level. Our next game takes a classic formula but completely turns it on its head, quite literally. Cube Direction from BBBW is, well, I don't know, what's the best way to describe this? It's essentially 4-way Tetris. In typical Tetris fashion, the game starts with bricks falling towards the bottom of the screen as you try to eliminate rows. But with Cube Direction, every once in a while, the game will drop a sneaky arrow brick which, if activated, changes the direction of the bricks falls toward. So the challenge now becomes trying to keep the middle of the screen clear of bricks as you scramble to clear the lines on all 4 sides. It's really clever and, well, really difficult. It just makes you want to keep playing another round once you die. And if you want, you can give it a download. It's available on both Android and iOS. Let's keep up with the mobile game trend. Our number 7 spot is Mousebusters from Odin Cat. I know what you're thinking, right? Mousebusters. Sounds like Ghostbusters, so you're probably, going around busting mice? No. You are a mouse busting ghosts. The visuals are just as sweet and charming as the story is too. Your goal is to sneak into people's apartments and try to save the residents of the apartment from the growing darkness inside them by busting ghosts that consume them. The game is quite casual in its approach too. Everything is controlled just by tapping. You get to talk with all sorts of characters, interact with objects in the environment, and solve puzzles, again, just with that tapping. There's a larger dark mystery to all of it too. You actually start the game as a human and get transformed into the mouse. So it's up to you to figure out how you can get out of this problem. The game's available on both iOS and Android. Alright, so far we've seen a lot of games that have been influenced by games before it. We had Slenderman, Tetris, Ghostbusters. Well, our next game takes that idea but just multiplies it by about 100. Craftopia by Pocket Pair. Just looking at the footage shows how they wanted to add elements from just about all of their favorite games into one. I bet anything you can think of is here in Craftopia. Breath of the Wild, obviously. Fortnite, yep. Pokemon, sure is. Harvest Moon, why not? I think you get the point. Best of all though, it's completely open to being played either solo or multiplayer. The game is right now in early access, but it is continuously updated. Oh, and wait, I forgot to show the dragons. Alright, we're halfway through the list now, and I'm hearing you saying, where are the anime girls? We want more anime girls. I got you. Next is Marfusa from Hinya Renine. Marfusa is a genre blender. It's a mix of both tower defense and a 2D shooter wrapped in a dystopian anime world. Your job is to guard the border gates against increasingly difficult enemies. And the game has a great loop as well. Kill enemies, earn money, spend the money on bigger, better guns, protection, allies, really anything to survive the next waves. The gameplay is simple, but man, it's effective. It's really hard to stop until you've just been completely overrun and die. Next up is probably our most well-known game of the bunch, Sumir from Game Tomo. If you don't know, Sumir is a narrative adventure game set during one day in the life of our titular hero, Sumir. Without giving too much away, the game starts with you meeting a mischievous spirit who guarantees to fulfill all of your biggest wishes before nightfall. The game takes place in a small, picturesque Japanese village with an absolutely gorgeous, painterly art style, and it really helps set the tone for Sumir's emotional storytelling. But don't forget, you have until sunfall to complete all the tasks for the spirit to fulfill your dreams. Top 3, baby! Our next game has some pretty big pedigree behind it. Shores Unknown from Valine, or is it Valine? Is a low-poly RPG with a story written by Final Fantasy veterans. And of course, since it's a Japanese list, I should point out that the game feels like a marriage between a Western RPG and a JRPG. It's really unique. Set place in a medieval world ruled by the iron-fisted crown and surrounded by other nations at war, you're in a world on the brink of all-out warfare. You play as a mercenary on the wrong side of the crown as you venture out in search of truth, new allies, and really wage war against anyone who wants to see your end. And combat changes things up too. Sure, it's a turn-based RPG, as many have done it before, but it all takes place in a gridless battle arena, so you and your team, as well as the enemies, are free to move as they wish to try and execute the other. It's definitely our most epic game from the list. Right, so let's get weird with our second place game. Have you ever wanted to play a game as a dog? One who has the power to drag and throw around their owner like a rag doll? Well, listen up. Play Dog, Play Tag from Project Pegasus is specifically that. So here's the setup. A bear thief has stolen all of the bones, and obviously, as a dog, you want your bones back. So choose your dog. Do you want a Shiba, a Husky, Lab? Well, they've got a great selection of cuties. Then you jump into a match with 3 other players or CPUs, and your job is to run after the thief bear and launch your owner at the bear to make them drop tons of bones. Or even better, launch your owner at other dogs to make them drop their collected bones with the goal of having the most bones at the end of the match. The bear also likes to hide in pretty much every building he runs by. But don't worry, and I mean everything, is destructible. The thief bear won't stay hidden for very long if you can just smash every building. There's also a bunch of power-ups you can pick up to help you get the upper hand over your opponents. You can play either online or local multiplayer, and honestly, it's just a blast. It'll surely devolve into a screaming match as you and your friends throw their owners at the other person's dog. And finally, in first place, my favorite game from the GDWC Japan list is, well, it's quite a mouthful, so get ready. Tiger Trio's Tasty Travels by Oink Games. Just from a few screenshots, I completely fell in love. The art style, the color palettes, the characters, and the animations, my god. But obviously it's not just about the visuals. The game is a perfectly polished puzzle game. Your trio of tigers open up a conveyor belt sushi shop, and obviously you want to serve customers a flawless dish. So, your tigers need to move dishes around the belts and add or subtract rolls to reach the right customers. The game is a fresh and challenging puzzle game for just about anyone, and as you reach certain milestones, new animals with unique skills will join your crew, like the breakdancing gorilla or the itchy-faced pug, to name a few. The game has some great accessibility options too to make it approachable for adults and kids alike. And for you perfectionists, every level has a star for completing the level with the minimum amount of moves. And as is with any great puzzle game, it gets really challenging, like I said, but if you get stuck, just sit back for a moment and enjoy the adorable animals living their adorable lives. So those are my favorite games from GDWC's Japan list. Write down in the comments below which game was your favorite, and don't forget, comment as well where you're watching from, and maybe I'll pick your country for the next video. And feel free to join us on Discord. We have a community of both developers and gamers alike chatting all day about really all things video games. So thanks so much for watching, hope you enjoyed it, see you next time.